So maybe let's start off just telling the folks a little bit about Red Magnet, what you guys do, what your specialties are, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, sure. We're a social marketing agency for creative brands. And what makes me so excited about creativeLIVE is that you're working with creative entrepreneurs. So this is an audience that I totally love. We've been working with folks like Duran Duran, Linkin Park, Incubus, in the music side of the house, but then also on the creative brands, working with Dodo Case. They're the makers of the high-end tablet and iPhone covers. And as Skice Taylor, the fashion line, Chef Michael Mina, Chef Bradley Ogden. So there's a lot of, social is a really great way for brands to connect with their fans, and we're all about helping them make that happen.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about, so those are all great folks. You have some pretty established brands already. What advice can you give for maybe a little bit earlier stage company who are just starting out, who have a Facebook fan page with hopefully a couple hundred or a couple thousand fans, but are really trying to figure out social media strategies? Like, what are some of the basics that you wouldn't mind?
Totally.
Yeah.
So I would say just focus on one thing. Don't feel overwhelmed. So the first question to ask is, where does your consumer, your audience, where do they like to hang out online? So if you are targeting moms, ages like 35 to 45, Facebook is a great option. If you are targeting tech influencers, then Twitter is probably the best place to go. And get started on that social platform and have a great editorial calendar and do it right. And really, double down and spend your time there versus worrying about, oh my God, what am I going to do on Instagram? What am I going to do on Vine? Sure. Like every single day there's a new social network. Just do one thing, do it right.
Pick one spot, really invest your time, nail it, build a critical mass or an audience that's actually going to be able to contribute to the growth of your business as opposed to getting spread out too thin.
Exactly.
How do you evaluate success in that strategy? How do you know that social media is a good return for you?
So the whole game is changing completely, and you and I have had a lot of conversations around this.
Yes.
So it used to be that you would just see how many followers you had or how many likes on Facebook, but now what's going on, the way the social networks are being devised, is that someone can be talking about you but not following you. It's super easy for them to do that.
Sure.
So really it's all about measuring engagement and how many people are actually mentioning you, responding to you, favoriting your tweets. But then even further down the marketing funnel, how many conversion events are you getting out of your social use?
And when you say conversion event, what do you mean by that?
So that means, especially in technology space for an early stage startup, is in how much traffic is coming from social.
Sure.
To your website. So look at your Google Analytics and see your online referrals and see what's coming from Twitter and Facebook or whatever social platforms you're using.
And that's pretty easy, right? You set up Google
easy.
Analytics, go into the top referral sources, and it's going to give you Facebook, Twitter, whatever else.
Exactly. And Google Analytics is kind of amazing because you can now even run certain social campaigns and tag them with Google Analytics numbers. So, you can really see where your traffic is coming from. The other thing is how many email addresses are you able to get from your social, and then finally how many sales. So,
sure.
Yeah.
So really it's become part of just an extension of your website, kind of, in that you're trying to move people from the various networks, these outposts, direct them to your main hub,
completely,
and then convert whatever business is that you're trying to do there.
It's a spoke and hub strategy. So the idea is to use all of the different social platforms as the spokes around the web, and then drive people into your hub. And then the other thing that you have to do is, like, once you capture that customer, is get them to become your brand advocate. So how can you include social hooks into your product so then after someone buys something, then they can spread the word about you to their social networks.
What do you mean by
their social graph?
Can you be a little more specific about that?
Yeah.
So like social hooks and spread the word.
Let me give you a great example.
Great.
So Fab is a company that did this really well and really blazed the path for the rest of us on this. So whenever you go to buy something on fab.com, which they sell like beautiful little design items, you can then, if they give you an option to say, hey, show your friends on Facebook and Twitter or Pinterest what you just bought. And then you can then say, oh, look at these, great little new cappuccino glasses I just bought, and then share them with your friends on Facebook and Twitter. Sure. And then, hopefully my friends will see that and go, oh my goodness, I never knew that Fab was having a sale of cute little cappuccino glasses, and they go and buy it. So that's exactly how you get that nice, virtuous cycle and social going on.
Fantastic. What's your favorite social network right now?
I am so impressed with the job that Instagram did in their new video product.
Really?
And I cannot wait to use it.
Because the readout from the Valley is fast follow and maybe like not so innovative.
I think that with Instagram and the amount of traffic, I went to a bar mitzvah last weekend, and I was watching like all the 13-year-old kids and like what they were doing. All of them were on Instagram. And that's what the kids are using, that they love looking at one simple photograph. Now with a 15-second video, I think that the video also looks really beautiful. The motion stabilization that Instagram has integrated into their technology, and then along with the filters, is really cool. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see where they go with this.
Sure. So it sounds like you really like the engagement opportunities that Instagram has. Tell me about the storytelling that it kind of seems like if the engagement is focused around a picture or a 15-second video, you have to be really concise and really on point with what your message is for that one thing right there. Can you give me some examples of cool marketing executions that you've seen that that provide an awesome use of that platform? Completely.
So yesterday, Ad Age did a great article that showed all of the launch partners with Instagram on video. So Lululemon, I have to admit I am a fan, they had this woman doing different yoga poses, and behind her were different images from around Vancouver of like the totem poles and like the harbor and like some contemporary sculpture. And then in the background was the Lululemon headquarters with their logo on it. And awesome. And then she was in it was just like a flash of like all these different images around Vancouver with her doing the yoga pose, and it was like, wow, that really like encapsulates the brand of Lululemon. And it's an easily shareable, engaging thing for their core audience. Yeah, and you really got a taste of not only their brand but also Vancouver, and like a little fun, like it captured the whole spirit. It was fantastic. Sure. So we have a big creative community on creativeLIVE, photographers in particular. What are some ways that photographers or designers might use Instagram, for example, or social networks to contribute to their local businesses? It's a fantastic question. So photographers, I know that there's a lot of sensitivity around something like Instagram. Like, I'm not just going to give away my work for free, and I totally understand that. I think one of the things you need to get creative about is that your customers, when they're choosing to hire you, really want to get to know you, because they really want to understand like the service that you're going to provide. So instead of maybe taking photographs that you would normally take for your business on Instagram, take behind the scenes photographs. Like, show us like where you leave your, put your cameras, like, in your home. Like, show us how you pack up your bag. Show us like, when you're in the photography supply store, like, like what you're buying. Like, show us like what a day in life for you looks like, so that your audience, like your potential customers, can get a better sense of who you are and what your brand is all about, and the care that you take and the work that you do. That's interesting that you mentioned that. That's essentially how our co-founder Chase Jarvis grew his super large audience, was by sharing behind the scenes stuff and helping educate other photographers about the tips and tricks that he was using to create beautiful, one-of-a-kind images. And so he was able to bring people into his world, provide value to them without giving away, the big, beautiful work that brands would pay a lot of money for, but providing different sorts of value to his community. And that community essentially was hugely important to the birth and success of creativeLIVE. Yeah, completely. Which is really cool. Yeah. Tell us, so Red Magnet, let's talk a little bit about like the team that you have, and how small businesses or medium-sized businesses can engage and best use a firm like yours. Because the question is,
how much do you do in-house? How much do you outsource? Tell me a little bit about your business and how you run it on a day-to-day basis.
It's a great question, and I think it's always evolving. It's interesting running a service-based industry, becoming a company that I think a lot of photographers can totally understand that. So, my co-founder is really the yin to my yang. She is really an operations type person. She's very strategic in nature. And
so that would make you
I'm the business development marketing person, big ideas person. So Athena luckily is there keeping the tracks running on the train, and I'm coming up with all of the big crazy ideas. So when we work with one of our clients, so for example, we've been working with Chef Bradley Ogden for a while, and he's about to open up 8 restaurants in Texas and in Las Vegas and here in California. They're a team that's trying to very quickly open up a ton of restaurants. They're very, very focused on their core business. So they just need a social strategy done well by people who know what they're talking about.
Right.
And I think that that's really a challenge in social, is to find people who actually have a lot of experience. There's not a lot of us because it's such a new industry. And
they tend to stay in-house. Once you have a certain level of experience, you become a community manager, and you kind of go from company to company
Exactly.
inside, and so the agency world is fairly limited.
Right, exactly. And so for a small business or a medium-sized business to come to us and say, we really need a thoughtful social strategy that we can actually implement. And we put a lot of loving care into a customized strategy for our clients so that they really have a roadmap of, how to balance the storytelling with the conversion events, which I actually advise on 80-20%. 80% is around storytelling and relationship building, and 20% of your social work should be around conversion events. Coming up with big campaign ideas so that get people to actually engage. There's a big difference between getting people to see a tweet that you kind of remember and go, oh, that's nice, that creativeLIVE sent that tweet to me. What are some engagement events? You can actually get people to spend 60 to 90 seconds with your brand a month, and then give you their email address. And then how are you going to work with influencers so that they can then help amplify those campaigns?
Sure. So engagement and influencers do one thing really well, which is extend your message to their networks
completely
as well. So that's I assume one of the reasons why engagement is potentially more important than just getting a bunch of likes.
Completely, yes. And influencers, if you're a creative entrepreneur and you have a business, I think that what makes social networks so special is that you can actually reach out to someone like Guy Kawasaki. You can and start tweeting at him, and if you do it in an authentically way, and you make sure you're providing value to him and you're actually sparking interest, he'll engage back with you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I met Porter Gale and ended up on creativeLIVE, was through Twitter. I don't know if you know that, but we became friends through Twitter.
Just through Twitter?
Yeah.
So Porter Gale is one of our instructors. She just had a book launch, Your Network is Your Net Worth. She's coming back to actually teach that class on creativeLIVE, I think next month. But do you want
to hear the story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I read an article. So I knew that
because everyone thinks that Twitter engagement is so cheesy and dumb, but sounds like just the opposite for you.
Well, so what happened was I really admired her work at Virgin America. And I read an article that she wrote in Ad Age about how some of her best business relationships had come from Twitter. So I tweeted at her, and I was like, would love to get together from coffee. I read this in the article in Ad Age that you're open to meeting people, random people like me, on Twitter. And she was like, she sent me her email address. And then we started following each other and engaging that way. And I had to email her a few times and nudge her for coffee, but we finally had coffee, and I ended up in her book.
So you did essentially a lot of things that she recommended, which was...
On her.
Yeah, absolutely. You ran her playbook
exactly.
with her.
And it worked.
Well, yeah. Well, Porter's an incredibly authentic person. Love her to death. I think she's incredible. but you had awareness of what she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
You were following her. You were a bit of a fan.
Totally.
And
Still am.
Yeah, and you were aware of a piece of content that she had just published.
Mm-hmm.
You engaged with her around that, and then you continued to follow up.
Completely.
This is one of the things that we're doing here is we're trying to essentially put some of the secrets from Silicon Valley out into the world.
Yes.
I don't know if this is a secret of Silicon Valley, but it's one thing that I get approached by kids who are just out of school all the time, and I don't always reply to the first email, and I don't sometimes reply to the second email, and you have to stick with it. You have to continue to remind that person in an authentic way, potentially, that you have to recognize that they're really busy.
It's so hard too, because you feel
Yeah.
like you're being a nudge and you don't want to be annoying to that person.
Yeah.
But again, we're all living between so many different screens and
Right.
living very busy lives, so that if you can really, again, like I said, you said authentically figure out how to say, hey, just following up with you, or tweeting at that person, or sending them an article that you think would be of interest, it really is wonderful. And I think that a lot of brands are forgetting to use social network platforms like Twitter and Facebook in that way. I think a lot of what I'm seeing is that brands are just broadcasting information out to people and not posting like the Ad Age article on Instagram videos, asking a question, hey, how does this inspire you?
Right. It's one-way value exchange. Check out our new product. Check out
Too much
what we're
broadcasting.
doing. It's all about us. Whereas social networking, you and Porter, it was a two-way exchange. So what are some examples of how brands can provide value to their users through social networks?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of what we've been doing with Dodo Case is really helping them think about who's the ideal Dodo Case customer,
Right.
and doing a profile on them. So, for example, Britt Morin from Brit & Company, she is an amazing entrepreneur. She's like she's the Martha Stewart of Silicon Valley, and she's one of their creative corner people. And so we're working with them to highlight her on their blog, and then also have her do a pin board and so on and so forth, and then have her design her own Dodo Case line is
Sure.
sort of the idea behind all of that. So it helps you understand how you can use their product, and it can make you smarter and better by seeing how someone else uses it.
Terrific. Do we have any questions from the audience for Rachel? I can keep going, but does anyone back here have any specific thoughts or questions? Yeah, so grab a microphone so that we can, the entire internets can hear what you're asking about.
Yeah, sounds good. So my question is around a lot of entrepreneurs, some entrepreneurs will kind of build a social media brand for themselves, while some don't invest their efforts on that. I would love to hear your opinion on, I guess, the importance of not only building a brand for your business, but also as a tech founder as well.
So building your own personal brand is a hot topic for many of us, because you're so busy building a business. Why do you want to put in the effort of also building your personal brand, and then is one going to sort of clutter the other? It's something that I have definitely struggled with a lot for myself. But I think that at the end of the day, your personal brand you're always going to have. And so it is also your company has a strong brand, but it can never be quite as personal and authentically you as you are. And if people want to engage with you, it's a very strong way for you to always take that from company to company and as your career evolves.
Would
And
you go as far to say that your network is your net worth?
I believe so. I mean, my relationship with Porter has definitely been very helpful from a net worth perspective. So, and it's kind of amazing how in Silicon Valley, I've been in the technology business since 2001, and how people that I met in 2001 are still so helpful to me today.
Yeah.
And come back to my life in so many different ways, and your career really evolved together. So I think that the more you can get out there, and it's so hard when you have a startup to say, okay, I'm going to go out there like twice a week and try to learn something new and meet some new people, it's a great thing to do. We work actually at a company called, in a building called the WeWork building, which is in a co-working space. We have our own office, but there's like 4 different startups down our hall. And that's just a really great way to constantly be able to get what's best around Silicon Valley, which is all the creativity and all the people thinking about new things. And I'm just, from our neighbors at BookFresh, I've learned a ton about how to build a fantastic enterprise software application. I'm not sure if I'll ever do that, but it makes me think about social in new and different ways too.
And I think that's an important concept that we can sort of extrapolate for local communities all across the country. That local businesses everywhere are going to have different audiences in the same geographic area, and that you can engage with one another to amplify the kind of community that you have collectively. So you can be a small local business in Toledo, Ohio, a cupcake shop or whatever, and by engaging with other businesses in your local community, you can all kind of come up together and share local interesting stuff about what's awesome and happening in Toledo.
Completely. And one of the things I find very inspiring is the whole SF Made group of companies. So it's Dodo Case and Rickshaw and Beta Brands. So they're all companies that are manufacturing in San Francisco, one of the most crazy real estate markets, and all of these companies are choosing to make their products here. And they help support each other, and they all have open houses on the same evening, and you can go from company to company. They do indie craft marts together along with smaller artisans. And I think also, if you're able to form a collective around that and have a social presence and all build off of each other, it's a really great thing to do.
And so you're talking about a shared online community that represents a actual physical local community. They do events together. They move.
Yes.
They're building a critical mass of local consumers who all sort of have the same mindset. Things locally built,
Yes.
not necessarily handmade, but really care about local products and stuff.
Completely. So a lot of businesses in Detroit have done that and seen a lot of success. Austin, Texas, same thing. And also the bars and clubs in the Sunset Strip in Hollywood did that.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so if you're a photographer, every business loves to have photos taken of them.
Completely.
You can be at the hub of a local community, helping take great pictures and share one another, and those pictures get seen by a larger local audience. We're just kind of spitballing here, but social networks reflect real-world communities. Having those real-world communities are a great way to sort of reinforce what you do online.
Completely, and use a smart hashtag, right? So that everyone in that local community can then find those photographs and then share them and then really encourage them to share them with all of their followers.
Now it's a shared marketing campaign across larger audiences. Any final questions for Rachel? Yes. Do we have the microphone back here? Great.
Hi, my name's Kim. I go by Kim on Twitter, Kim.
Wow.
A friend of Porter. She's wonderful. Although our schedules are so busy, we haven't often had a chance to sit down. But I have one quick question. People often approach me for influencer type of projects, and I'm wondering, how are they finding me? Like, how do you track down influencers? Or is that a trade secret, or is that something that you can reveal to this audience?
All right, so this really is one of my secrets of Silicon Valley.
Ooh.
I will share it on the creativeLIVE audience. So I actually, I spend a lot of time and thought around approaching influencers. To date, our company has never paid an influencer to do anything on the behalf of one of our clients. I think that will probably change at some point because of the marketplace, but I think that when you approach an influencer, you're going to get a much better authentic post that their audience will really want to read if you provide a fantastic experience for them. And one of the things that I'm really interested in is, instead of going to people who have like a million followers or 500,000 followers, unless you already know them, finding the influencers of influencers. And so I use this tool called TweetDiff, and I will plug in, let's say I am going after tech entrepreneurs. I would plug in Guy Kawasaki, Robert Scoble, and Porter Gale, And then TweetDiff shows you all of the people who they have in common that they follow. And that's a really great way to surface the influencers of influencers. And it's something I use over and over again for all of our clients. And it's free.
Terrific.
It's like it just uses the Twitter API.
Great.
TweetDiff. Yeah.
TweetDiff.
Or do you tweet, if you can't find it, tweet at me. I'm Masters212, and I'll send you the link.
So it's Masters212. If people are interested in your agency,
redmagnetmedia.com.
Yep. Big round of applause for Rachel Masters.
Thank you. Good to see you.
All right.